Montecito, Calif. Reuters. Rescue crews expanded their search on Friday for 5 missing people as the death toll rose to 18 from mudslides in Southern California that damaged hundreds of buildings and caked highways with sludge. About 1,250 emergency workers raced against the clock to find survivors with drones, heavy equipment and sniffer dogs in the rescue and cleanup efforts, the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services said. The latest victim, 87-year-old Joseph Bleckel, was found in his Montecito home on Friday, Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown said, adding that the remaining missing were between the ages of 2 and 30. "We've got a window that's closing, but we're still very optimistic. There's been plenty of cases where they've found people a week after," Santa Barbara County Fire Department spokesman Mike Eliason said earlier on a muddy Montecito street especially hard hit by the mudslide. Officials said secondary searches of damaged structures were underway. The number of missing has fluctuated as people were located, said the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office. Authorities said on Thursday night that 43 people were unaccounted for. Residents in some areas were subject to a new mandatory evacuation on Friday, emergency officials said, adding the unstable environment remained a threat. Triggered by heavy rains, the massive slide struck before dawn on Tuesday. Walls of mud and debris cascaded down hillsides stripped of trees and shrubs by last month's wildfires, including the Thomas Fire, the largest blaze in the state's history. Exhausted crews excavators carrying rescuers in their buckets plowed through mud-coated roads in search of the missing after some areas were buried in as much as 15 feet (4.6 meters) of mud, emergency officials said. Crews begin cleanup efforts of Highway 101 after mudslides cause extensive damage to hundreds of buildings and caked highways with sludge, in Montecito, California, U.S. January 12, 2018. Reuters. Daniel Dreyfus. It is heavy. It's wet. It just exhausts the crews out there, Sacramento Fire Department Captain Pat Costamagna said in a social media video from the governor's emergency management office. County officials have already ordered residents in most of the southeastern corner of Montecito, an unincorporated community east of the city of Santa Barbara, to leave their homes for what they said was likely to be 1 or 2 weeks to aid the search and recovery efforts. In one of the worst-hit areas of Montecito, mud blew through doors and windows, filling the interiors of houses with muck and debris. The walls at one end of a home had disappeared, leaving its roof hanging precariously. Downed power lines wrapped around trees at one property, while elsewhere the lines dropped almost to the ground. Elsewhere, cars were perched on mounds of earth and garage doors had caved in. The area, northwest of Los Angeles, is home to many celebrities and other wealthy Californians who relish the seclusion and relative proximity to the city. The cause of death for most of the victims will be listed as multiple traumatic injuries resulting from flash floods with mudslides, the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office said Thursday. The dead ranged in age from 3 to 89. One of California's most celebrated roads, Coastal Highway 101, was closed in parts of Santa Barbara County where mud was 2 feet deep in parts. Residents of the mudslide-hit area were assessing their damaged homes, with some grateful their properties had survived. "We have a yard to redo and hopefully our insurance will help out with that, but the people across from me, newer homes, gone," said Garrett Spears, a 54-year-old artist who has been living in Montecito for 20 years. "Everybody down below gone, 2 girls gone," Spears said. 2 sixth graders in the school our kids went to. Additional reporting by Keith Kaufman in Denver, Chris Kenning in Chicago, Gina Cherelis and Peter Shickley in New York and John Herskovitz in Austin, Texas. Writing by Scott Malone and John Herskovitz. Editing by Jeffrey Benko, James Dalgleish and G. Crossier. Standards. The Thomson Reuters Trust Principles.